Hey everybody, it's Ryan McAllister from the Grumpy Guys Show. Tonight is episode 14. Take off your rose-tinted glasses. Tonight we talk a bit about nostalgia and driving, and a little bit more.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grumpy Guys Show. I'm Derek McAllister.
And I'm Ryan McAllister.
So we got a couple of things going on that you might end up hearing. Sounds like, yet again, a thunderstorm's coming through during recording.
How many times have we recorded during a storm?
I don't know. I've lost count now.
Same.
But the other thing is, somebody started the dishwasher knowing that we had to record.
Man, some people.
So we've got the microphones a little closer, and we're hoping to cut the dishwasher out. Thunder's finally starting to roll through, so I'm not sure we can cut that out. But hopefully the lights won't go out on us. Though we'll still be able to record because I'm using a laptop.
Lucky.
So, let's get right into it.
What do we got first?
So we're going to start out with a topic that I get annoyed with quite a bit.
And what would that be?
And it has to do with driving. But not just driving in general. It also has to do with insurance and the sexism that's completely and totally forgotten about.
Really? There's sexism?
Oh, yeah.
How so?
So, the other day, I was going down to the store, and somebody was tailgating me.
Oh, boy.
Doing 55 miles an hour. I could barely see the front of their car. As in, I could not see half of the bumper of their car.
Seriously?
Granted, I'm in a Jeep, I'm sitting up higher, but that's still really, really close. Now, you're supposed to do 2 seconds. Count 1001, 1002. Mm-hmm. So the car in front of you passes something like a sign, you start counting 1001, 1002. That's the minimum distance that you need to be able to react and stop.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you're in an older car, such as this person was, you're probably going to need more stopping distance than somebody in a newer car, such as mine.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take that into account. But they weren't. They were right on my bumper. And the reason that this bothers me and brings up the whole sexist thing is because it was a young female driving. So, you know, when I first started driving, and it'll probably end up happening once you actually get your license, the insurance rates for men under 25 is significantly higher than the insurance rates for females under 25.
Of course.
And, you know, maybe back in the 60s when guys were out to prove things and, you know, they had all these muscle cars and you know, the women just didn't drive the big muscle cars with, you know, the blown out engines and everything. But nowadays, not many people are doing that. So why is there still...
Especially around here.
Well, yeah, especially around here, but... You know, why is it that males are still paying more in insurance? Yet all we hear about is, oh, female equality, female equality. Well, how about some female equality there?
How about female equality when it comes to the draft?
Yeah, but, you know, that's another thing, but that's a different story for a different podcast. You'll have to make a note of it.
Yep.
And you'd have to have more than just, how about that? But at any rate, back to our topic. So, you know, the reason that this bothers me so much is more than likely this young lady is paying less in insurance than the guy that's sitting next to her. You know, so why is that? Well, it's all because of something based on long ago how it was. Not how it is now and how reality is. Reality is I've seen more aggressive young women drivers lately than I have male drivers. And by aggressive, I'm talking right up on your butt. And when they do finally pass you, they're the ones that are going by flipping you off. And it just, you know, so, hello. Perfect opportunity for equality. You know, I mean, that's just, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it shouldn't be based on your gender. It should be based on your age and your experience. So if you're 17, just driving, yeah, okay, I can understand somebody who's 17 having a higher insurance rate than somebody who's 25 and been driving for 8 years.
Yeah.
Completely and totally makes sense. But somebody who's a female, 17, having a lower insurance rate than somebody who's 25, male, doesn't make any sense. Unless that 25-year-old male has had several accidents. But they don't take that into account. That's a much lower account than the fact that it's a male. It's just stupid.
It's sexist.
Exactly. So that kind of leads us to our next topic. The I-81 replacement in Syracuse.
Before we get into that, I gotta mention,
Okay.
feminists out there, there's such a thing as sexism against men.
There is.
I know that you like to ignore it, but it exists.
It does. It's not...
I doubt that any feminists listen to our podcast.
No, I doubt it too, because I'm just overly... I just don't care.
Neither do I.
So you good now? Can we move on? All right.
Go ahead, I-81.
So the I-81 viaduct in Syracuse, it's something like 60 years old. It's well beyond its expected life expectancy. But you know, they're talking about, and they've been looking for community input for several years now. And they've apparently ignored it and made their decision before they even decided to have community input. Because most of the community, including those outside of Syracuse that will be affected by changes, have said, replace the viaduct as is. But no, apparently New York State, in their infinite wisdom, have decided we're going to create this community grid. So, for anybody who doesn't live in the Syracuse area, the viaduct goes right through the center of the city. And of course, all kinds of people say, oh, it cuts the city in half. Well, yeah, visually, but because it's raised, and a viaduct is raised, because of that, it doesn't cut the city in half physically. It actually allows the city to maintain a nice, cohesive, physical connection, meaning that I can easily walk underneath the viaduct from one side to the other. So this proposal that they're apparently going with is to eliminate the viaduct and have a street-level grid. Yeah.
I'm so confused.
Couple of issues with that. First and foremost, this makes it so it's no longer an interstate, which means there's a very good chance that the federal government's going to cut funding for repairs of this. That's the first brilliant move. But then on the local news tonight, they were talking to the guy who's leading up the study and who's been studying this for 10 years. And he was saying, as they're driving along that section of 81 that's going to be replaced, he was saying, oh, yeah, if you're coming through here during the morning, it's packed. It's like a parking lot because there's so much traffic. Once we get rid of the viaduct, we're going to eliminate that.
Okay, I don't believe that for a second.
So instead of the roads that go underneath the viaduct taking some of the traffic, suddenly you're going to take all of the traffic that's on top of the viaduct, merge it together with all the traffic that's under the viaduct, and you're going to reduce the traffic?
That's a neat Hot Wheels trick.
You're not getting rid of traffic. What you're doing is you're just saying...
making it worse.
Okay, well, now we're going to put stoplights in there, so anybody who's going through has to stop. They're talking about putting a roundabout in, which geez, in the city, that's probably not the greatest idea. Yeah, it'll work in rural areas, proven over and over again to work in rural areas.
When you look at places,
yeah, you look at Europe, and that's what they have quite often is a roundabout instead of a four-way stop. Works well once people get used to it. But you look into Europe in major cities where they have roundabouts, and you can see over and over again cars just stuck in the roundabout. And they're stuck there because every time they go to get out of the roundabout, there's somebody in the way. Whoops. So they're stuck. So,
roll.
Bad idea. But he insisted multiple times that putting this grid in, it was going to make the city more beautiful. It was going to get rid of the separation. I'm like,
what separation?
He's stuck on the visual separation. I get it. It looks visually separate because you've got this main road going down through. But what they're talking about is they're talking about making this grid that's wider than the viaduct and the two roads that go along the sides of the viaduct. That's right, folks. Not only is there a road underneath, but there's a road on each side of it. So now we're taking all of that and we're going to make this community grid where we have picnic tables and all this other crap. Who in their right mind is going to go and sit on picnic tables between all that traffic?
Nobody.
Nobody is. It's going to take them 25 minutes just to get to the stupid things. Then they've got 5 minutes. And oh wait, yeah, they've only got a 30-minute lunch. So they take 25 minutes to get to the stupid picnic tables. Then they take 5 minutes to eat. Oh, I'm late for work.
Oops.
I mean, seriously. And this guy's supposedly been studying this for 10 years.
Supposedly.
This is the problem there is with some of these civil engineers when it comes to traffic. They look at the computer models, and a computer model works perfect. It shows exactly, it'll show you, oh yeah, this is really fast, and this is much better.
At least it's supposed to.
The problem is, it's better until you put humans in. Because more and more often, you're going to see, as you start to drive, you're going to see people have to be in front.
Yeah.
I've got to be first. I should be in front of you.
Me.
Yeah. So what happens? You get to these stupid intersections where you've got 2 lanes, and then just after the light, it shrinks down to 1. What happens? People floor it to be the first one.
Because me.
Yeah. So it doesn't do anything. It causes problems. But you look at it on a computer model, and the computer model just shows the cars go through, and they gently and nicely merge in through. Nobody does that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the problem with civil engineering, is they look at computer models. They don't go out and actually look at what's happening in the real world. Instead of building all of these stupid grids or these stupid situations where right after a stoplight you shrink down 1 lane, you claim that they're going to merge. Instead of saying, oh yeah, look, it works perfect in the computer model, go out, sit, and do a study watching one of these intersections and see what happens. I can guarantee that they're going to actually wake up and say, hey, wow, that's not a good idea. But they aren't going to do anything like that because, well, I get paid to sit in front of the computer and look at the computer. And I can show that a computer says it's going to work.
And people have way too much trust in computers.
They do. And that's going to
the computer's going to work perfectly.
That's part of the problem when it comes to the self-driving stuff. They're expecting us to just go with it. And I'm sorry, but I want to be in control.
Same.
We get to the self-driving world where we're expected to let this computer drive me, and I'm either walking or I'm taking a bicycle or I'm taking a motorcycle. I'm not letting a computer drive me. Nope, so sorry. I don't put my trust in some engineer who's been driven hard to work a lot of hours just to get something done so that the company he works for can make a huge profit margin. Because that's what's happening. These guys are tired. They're working hard. And it's not just guys. Don't get me wrong. It's also women. They're just worked to the bone. They burn out. Yeah. And then, while they're burning out, the executives of the company are going and they're partying and they're taking 3-4 week vacations.
They're doing nothing.
Yeah, they're not doing the actual work. They're just coming up with these great ideas. It's just stupid.
They're not even coming up with the ideas.
Well, some of them do.
The executives aren't really.
Some of them do. But, seriously, they're doing things like flying off to space. They're not actually doing the work.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
And some of them barely pay their employees.
Yeah, and that's the other problem. That's part of the reason that people burn out. Because not only are they salaried, but, they're working 12, 14, 16-hour shifts. And then they have to go and have a second job. Because where are they forced to work? Well, they're forced to work in places like San Francisco where there's a housing shortage. And a little one-bedroom studio apartment is $1,500 to $2,000 a month without utilities. Just insane. That doesn't include the cost of food in places like this, but they're forced to live there because they can't afford a car, because they're not paid enough, so they have to be someplace where they can take public transportation to and from work, which means you're living in a major city. And all the tech companies are where? Out in California, because they want to be out there, in the sunshine and
good weather.
Yeah,
supposedly good.
Yeah. So what do you got?
What I have is a thing about pop culture. It's more movies and television shows and video games than anything else, but it's this thing about reboots and fans. Over-obsessed fans who are overly nostalgic about stuff. Every time a reboot comes out about something that they really loved, and it sucks, they say that, quote-unquote, ruined their childhood. No, it didn't! Just because something new sucks, some sort of reboot sucks, doesn't mean that it makes the original worse.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
I can't help but laugh because I think back to when Star Wars was redone, the original 3. It was redone.
Well,
there were a lot of things that they cleaned up and some scenes that they added.
Well, it was a re-edit, not exactly like
a
remake of the film.
Didn't remake the film, no, but
I don't think they ever will, honestly.
No, they probably won't. But
they make too much money off of adding more and more and more to the what's canon.
Yeah, but when the update first came out, there were so many people that flipped out about that. Oh, it's just not the same. Oh, this sucks. Why? 99% of the movie is the same. What's so bad about it? But, that's not even the same as what you're talking about. You're talking about them completely redoing a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Ghostbusters.
Oh, God.
Okay, so they redid it. I have no interest in seeing it because it's just not Ghostbusters to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to slam somebody for doing it.
And then 2016, when the Ghostbusters remake came out, the internet was just so split on it. It was like a political argument. And now nobody remembers that movie. Nobody even remembers that they even redid Ghostbusters. Oh, they redid Ghostbusters?
Yeah, and it's
and there's going to be another one coming soon, or it's already out, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to these newer movies.
Based off of the original two.
Yeah, because the problem I have with a lot of the new movies, they're putting in so much CGI that it takes away from the movie. You look at something like So we started watching a series
On Netflix.
on Netflix about movies. I can't remember the name of the
The
series.
movies that made us.
Yeah,
I believe.
the movies that made us. So we started watching that, and basically it's talking about some major movies. And anybody who's a movie buff, that's a really good series to watch.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it.
Yeah, trust me, you'll enjoy it. But one of the movies they talked about had some major innovations in it was Jurassic Park. It was the first movie to do CGI. And it's because they wanted the dinosaurs in there to look and act and move in a real fashion.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that with stop motion. You couldn't do it with animatronics. Mm-hmm. So, they did CGI, and it was the first movie to do that. But the CGI was to enhance the movie. It wasn't to take over the movie. You look at so many movies now, and CGI is just the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like Toy Stories.
Jurassic Park wasn't really the first. I think they had CG in like Terminator 2 as well, which was like 2 years before.
I'm not sure, because I believe that series said that this was the first one to use it.
Maybe it was the
as probably as complete CGI,
Yeah.
not correction CGI, which is, I think that's what the difference is.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what that means.
Because basically with Jurassic Park, the actors were going with no dinosaurs chasing them.
Yeah.
Where with Terminator 2,
you had another actor chasing you.
Yeah, you had another actor chasing you. So, it was completely and totally...
And they added in
addition, they added in the liquid metal.
Mm-hmm.
Where Jurassic Park, no dinosaur. The actors have to believe that there's something there and act as if there's something there.
Yeah.
And then the CGI team actually made it so that when they turned to look, they looked at a dinosaur. By placing it in the right place based on the director's direction. They placed it in the right place so that it looked like they were looking at a dinosaur. But at any rate, I don't have a whole lot of interest in newer movies because there's just so much CGI.
I mostly don't have a lot of interest in movies just because I honestly don't really know. It's not because of the CGI. I could honestly care less about that.
I think a lot of it has
as
to
long
do
as it
with,
looks good and it's not obvious that it is CG.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the storylines are so stale.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's just the original stuff.
Yeah, and
most of what Hollywood does now is just rehash old stuff.
Yeah, and that's a big part of the problem. I wouldn't say it's going to ruin my childhood.
I agree.
But
people who say that, in my opinion, had no childhood.
Yeah. If a movie is going to ruin your childhood, then
you didn't have one.
You didn't have much of a childhood.
Exactly.
But
take off your rose-tinted glasses.
Oh, jeez. So another quick story here.
Ooh.
They have Facebook.
Okay, what's this about?
So I was listening to a tech podcast.
Uh-huh.
And somebody wrote into them and asked about some service. It's supposed to be a way that you can earn money by letting a company, watch all your credit card transactions and everything.
Yeah.
And, of course, they make money off of it. But, so this person is asking, is this a legitimate service?
Define legitimate.
So, the host went through and he did some research on it and everything. And he said, the first thing I noticed on here is they don't have Twitter and they don't have Facebook. So that's a red flag to me. So I would recommend this one over here. And he named off the other one. And he said, and you see on here they have Facebook, they have Twitter, they have LinkedIn. So That tells me they're legitimate.
Okay.
At what point did we decide that having a social media presence means that you're a legitimate business?
Yeah, that's questionable.
You know, I mean, seriously. Oh, you've got a business on this business's thing, so that must mean you're real.
You're making your presence known, so that means you're real.
Yeah, so the fact that they're paying for a website, paying for a company to host the website, that doesn't mean that they're legitimate. But using a free service to, communicate
Put yourself
with people,
out there.
that means that you're legitimate?
How?
I mean, seriously, what the hell is wrong with people that they think that defines legitimacy? Facebook could go away, and if that's the only avenue that you have to communicate with your customers, you're in serious trouble.
Twitter could go away, and not only could, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did go away, honestly.
The only way Twitter's going away is if somebody buys them and closes it down.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would,
just because they've been losing users pretty quickly the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. As long as they're profitable, then people are going to keep it open. Once it loses profitability, that's when it changes. But before that happens, somebody will buy it and change things and turn things around. It's the way that it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way that social media goes. It's why Facebook is as big as it is, because every time somebody actually tries to compete with them, they do things to copy, and they flex their monopolistic muscles. Because technically they are not a monopoly, because nobody says you have to use Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the only service out there. There are others. But why do people go to Facebook? Simple phrase. Everybody's there.
Everybody.
So when Google first came out with Google+, I wasn't on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
No reason to be, because I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
I got onto Google+, and people on there that had Facebook accounts that mentioned Google+ would have their account locked. For, depending on it. It depended on how many times you had offended that. But basically, Facebook was making sure that you did not talk about another social network.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that, Google Plus was about something completely different. The idea behind Facebook is people you know.
Exactly. And that's honestly my problem with it.
The thing, it's about connecting with people you know.
Mm-hmm.
Where the idea behind Google Plus was things you know.
That's basically what Reddit is.
So you didn't go to Google Plus because everybody you knew was there. You went to Google Plus because things you wanted to learn more about were there.
And that's exactly what Reddit's for. And that's why I use it.
Well, you got to remember.
Because of things that I'm interested in.
You got to remember, Reddit wasn't around then.
Actually, it was. It just wasn't nearly as big.
Yeah. But, so Facebook, they're not a monopoly, but at the same time, they are very monopolistic. And that's why governments around the world are looking at them to say, maybe we need to do something. The problem is you look at all of these governments that are saying, Facebook's too big, they're too powerful. They're also the ones that have approved every single purchase that Facebook has done.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, they approved that purchase.
Yep.
There's very few companies that will actually refuse the money that these big tech companies throw around. WhatsApp is one that said no.
No, thank you.
If Facebook wanted to buy them, and it was some ridiculous amount of money. It was like $20 billion or something like that.
Of course they did.
And WhatsApp said, no thanks.
No thanks.
And look at them now. WhatsApp is doing well, even though Facebook tried really, really hard to duplicate everything. To say, oh yeah, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
They went with what Microsoft did back in the early 90s, the late 80s, where there were other operating systems out there, but every time the other operating system would come out with a new feature that was something that Microsoft didn't have, they'd copy it. Mm-hmm. Before any kind of copyrights were submitted or anything like that, they'd copy it. Mm-hmm. And that's what Facebook has been doing. And it's worked. They've beaten down some companies that refused to sell to them until suddenly they got them for a bargain.
Yep.
But, all of these governments approved it.
Surprised that the government doesn't complain about Google being too big.
Oh, they have.
Do they?
They have, especially in Europe.
That's not surprising at all.
Europe actually a few years ago went after Google for Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Europe, Chrome has something like a 90% adoption rate. It is by far the number one browser in Europe.
Wow.
The sad thing is, the European government is so out of it. They're so out of touch with their constituents that they didn't realize it's by choice. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because it's installed on Android phones.
That's what politicians are, out of touch.
It's all these installations on Windows. Chrome doesn't come pre-installed on Windows. But at any rate, so folks, you've probably heard the music starting up in the background. So I think we're going to end up calling it a night. Hopefully you didn't hear too much from the dishwasher or too much from the storms, though the thunder seemed to pass over pretty quick.
Yeah, it was quick. Good night.
See ya.